Hey everybody, I'm feeling kind of crummy today. I'm in my bedroom, I'm in my sweatpants, but that's not going to stop me from talking about my goals for next year, because why not? Last week I posted my Powersheets setup where I go through the entire prep work in the Cultivate What Matters Powersheets. It's a goal setting planner, that's this thing, and I went through the whole prep work. It was about a 4 or 5 hour process over the course of a week, and I got it condensed down to like 40 minutes, and I'll link it up in the cards. But when I got to the end of that process, I set my goals for 2020, but I did not break them down into action steps and finish that last bit of the Powersheets on camera. I just was too burned out from the whole prep work to do that. So I did it off camera, and many of you asked me to explain my reasoning and how I did that and what I'm doing, because you're struggling with that aspect of it. So I thought I would make this video today to tell you how I'm taking my big overarching kind of vague goals and breaking them into actionable steps. If you are not using the Powersheets, if you're using some other goal planner, or if you are just setting goals in your bullet journal or whatever, you can follow along with this and use some of these same principles. This just happens to be the tool that I'm using because it worked really well for me this year, and I can link that video up in the cards as well. Is this bothering you yet? Maybe, possibly. Now in the Powersheets you have the goal setting worksheets where you have a spot to put your big goal, why you want to achieve it, and then you have a page to break it down into mini goals and action steps. I watched Plan with Lakin's video, and she was struggling with overarching vague goals and wanted to have areas of focus that then got broken into quarterly goals. Take a drink for every time I say goals in this video. I like having the big overarching kind of vague goals. It worked great for me last year. At least one of my goals is pretty specific. The rest of them are kind of vague, but I like breaking them into more actionable, concrete goals as I go through the year, and that's what I'm going to be doing in these sheets. I did take one really specific thing from Lakin, and she said that she was using the mini goal page where it has room for 3 mini goals in your Powersheets and photocopying it so she could keep using it over and over again. I saw this video after I used it. There is actually a printable, and I will link it down below. It's free on the Cultivate What Matters website, which has basically a page like that that you can just keep using. So what I'm going to do is just paper clip it in here, and these mini goals under each big goal are for my quarter one. Some of them are per month, some of them are spread out throughout the month, but this way I'm basically working on these items in the first quarter, and then in the second quarter when I revisit my goals, I will set new mini goals to continue to help me get there. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Please feel free to leave me any questions you have in the comments. Like I said, I'm not feeling good today, so I'm not sure exactly how clear I'm going to be. Let's talk about one of them, and maybe that will explain the process for you. The first goal I have, goal number 1, is my most concrete goal. It is to reach 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and based on the growth I have had over the last few years, it's a stretch goal. It's a big stretch goal, but I really want to achieve it. So, and I have reasons why. It's not just for the fame and the fortune, because it's not like there's that much of that anyway, and it's not just for the silver play button, although I love swag. There's other reasons, and if you're interested in my why and the feelings behind it, you can check out that first Powersheets prep video that I was talking about, because that's where I go into that. This is actually about the action. The first mini goal is to create an idea list of shareable content to use throughout the year, because I determined when I was doing my analytics that if I want to keep growing, I need to have more people discovering my videos. I do great, according to my analytics, with talking to my subscribers and, you know, catering to my subscribers, but I'm not very good at being found or being suggested or whatever the case may be. So working on stuff to put out there that my subscribers will love but that other people will find is an important idea. And so that was my first mini goal, and I broke it down into 3 steps, starting steps at least. Look at my analytics for the videos that were the most suggested, schedule a brainstorming session out of office to like sit down and just dump ideas out on a page, and plan for a tentative schedule for the year around those ideas, which may be a bit overreaching. It may just be better to do for a quarter, but those are some ideas. And basically I have all of these scheduled throughout the month of January. The second mini goal that I have is to increase engagement on Instagram and YouTube. The first starting step is to post 3 videos a week, which is my normal schedule. I'm not changing that on YouTube anytime soon. But engage in the first hour in the comments. That's one thing that I am really inconsistent at. I read as many comments as I possibly can. I actually have them sent to my email so I can read them there because it's a little easier for me. But if I can be in the comments for the first hour after the video goes live. That'll give me an opportunity to have more real-time conversations, and that will increase engagement there and also just be awesome. The second one is to post to Instagram 4 times a week and again engage in the first hour of posting. And this one is something that I am nervous about because I have still not found my groove with Instagram. I don't want it to be, kitties are fighting. Of course they are. Guys, I haven't found my groove yet with Instagram, and it's like I don't want it to be formulaic, so saying I want to post 4 times a week really is like the down the road of formulaic, so I'm not entirely certain about that step yet. It may evolve a little bit. I'm not sure yet. And then the third one is to specifically look at engagement levels over the course of January and February in the month of March, specifically at engagement. So those are scheduled mostly through February and the beginning of March. And then my third mini goal is to finish fixing my branding because it's inconsistent everywhere. So I want to finish, I have a couple of fonts I created with my handwriting just to use in like thumbnails and things like that. And I need to create a couple of more of them that are a little bit more refined. The first 2 were just like for the hell of it when I was drunk one night. I'm interested in working on some new stuff regarding editing and having all the branding done by the end of March. So those are all of my 3 mini goals to start working towards this big goal over the next quarter. So how did I set these? Well, I had already done some research on the best ways to achieve this, and I think that that's important. If you are trying to set a goal, you want to know what it's going to take to get there. And I have identified some of the areas, engagement and shareable content specifically, that will help me start moving in that direction. And so I started there. And as I work on these, I am hoping that more areas and more paths will open up to keep moving forward, but we'll just have to see. So that was a concrete goal that I was able to think about in concrete ways to start moving forward. I'm not setting goals of, you know, get 4,500 subscribers in a month or whatever the case may be, because I can't control that. I can control what I make and what I put out there and how I engage with it. I cannot control how many people find me. So I don't want to set my mini goals to be get X number of people, because then I might fall behind and then I'm suddenly feeling behind for the whole year. Where I'm striving towards this goal, I want to pick things I can control to work towards. The second goal that I have is to ensure financial stability by building income, savings, and a working budget. So my first 3 mini goals for quarter 1 are implement and consistently use the paycheck budget method. And then the 3 mini goals have to do with writing the budget and then checking in with the budget and then checking in with the budget. And so that's basically for the next 3 months, but the forming of the budget will be in January. The second mini goal is to save $5K for landscaping this summer. And that one actually is specific numbers. It's save $1,750 each month for the next 3 months. And then the third mini goal is to launch a series 2 of the fuckery flowers, which is a, I guess, you know, spoiler, question mark, which is a series of prints I do in my Etsy shop. By the end of January, I want to paint 12 flowers. By the end of February, I want to be done with like prep for listings and photography. And then mid-March, I'd like to relaunch the shop with the second set of flowers. So there's a lot more that goes into it than that, and that's something I'll break down on my Kanban board. That's a like overarching goal for the quarter to build income, savings, and a working budget. So we're covering the budget with the mini goal number 1, we're covering savings with mini goal number 2, and we're covering increasing income with mini goal number 3. So that's kind of how I broke that one down. The third goal is to build better boundaries around my time and energy. The first mini goal for that is to streamline my church commitments, which means in January, I basically want to list everything that I am currently committed to doing at my church. And then my second goal is to determine how much time I want to spend at church. Like how often I want to attend, how often I want to be there. My third is to create a plan to drop the commitments that don't fit into that time frame. So if I want to be at church, if I know it's both feasible and enjoyable for me to be at church twice a month, then I need to make sure my commitments fit within twice a month, but don't overwhelm twice a month because of, you know, I also want to go there to be refreshed, not just to go there to go to meetings. So I don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet, and actually the second mini goal is going to inform some of that. And the second mini goal is to time track for 3 months. Now, if you followed any of my bullet journal videos, you'll know I time tracked in my bullet journal for a long time, and it wasn't doing shit for me after a while. But this time, I want to decide on a time tracking system by the first couple weeks of January. I'm thinking it might be digital because that might be easier to be more specific or to be more accurate than doing it in my bullet journal. And I also need to choose which categories I'm going to be tracking. Am I going to track every little bit of work, or am I just going to track general work? Or am I going to break it up into a couple of different categories, like work where I'm like creating or work where I am administrating, you know, like what kind of situations? That's another thing I have to kind of sit down and think about. So I have that on my list. Complete at least 10 weeks of time tracking by the end of March. And I'm hoping that by doing that time tracking, it will also help me really decide how often I want to be at church versus how much time I'm actually spending there and whatever. And then the third mini goal is to establish regular time off. So by the end of March, I want to create a daily and weekly work schedule. Again, I work for myself and I do everything myself, so there's not like I can have a perfectly established work schedule, but at least an aspirational work schedule that I stick to the majority of the time, both for how often I work each day and for how often I work each week. And I kind of have that now, but I need to revisit it and get a little bit more strict with it. By the end of February, I want to have taken 1 full day off a week. Good luck with that, Cindy. Especially if it's a day I'm not sick, you know. And then by the end of January, I want to schedule 3-day weekends for my husband and I for Q1 and Q2. We want to have, he needs to take more time off. He's built up a lot of time off at work and actually needs to take some time off. And we would love to have some 3-day weekends, both for just the two of us and for us with the kids. So sitting down with the calendar and scheduling some of those out is also on my list. Now, you'll notice with the first 2 of these goals, there were very, like the first one with the subscribers, I identified the areas that the starting areas to get to this big stretch goal. And with the second goal, I wanted to do 3 kind of things to ensure financial stability, and each of my mini goals hit one of those 3 things. But this Build Better Boundaries one is vaguer. All 3 of these goals kind of work together to help me start setting boundaries, but it's not quite so clear as, like, say, you know, saving X amount of money per month. If you have a really vague goal and you're not sure how to break it down because every way you think of to break it down is also vague. Really, my biggest vagueness in these mini goals is the streamlined church commitments, but the stuff underneath it kind of tells me how to do that. And the time tracking in the second mini goal is like a tool that will also help me with that first one. I want to achieve these things, but sometimes it takes deeper thinking before I know what to do to achieve these things. And so with the YouTube goal, I had done some of the deep thinking already, so I kind of knew where to start. But with this boundaries one, I haven't done as much of that deep thinking, and so I need to set my first goals around figuring out how to even begin. I feel like I'm being super vague right now. I probably am. My fourth goal is to develop and nurture routines in all areas of my life. And this first quarter is all about morning routines. Partly because we're reading Good Morning, Good Life by Amy Landino as book club for January, and partly because that's the one I want to focus the most on. I figure at the beginning of the year when I have the most like enthusiasm for it, this is the first one to start with. So my first mini goal is to create a morning routine I enjoy. And on this list is to read Good Morning, Good Life, to pick a journaling technique I will stick with, and to use said journaling routine for a month, or journaling technique for a month. I really dislike most forms of like free-form journaling. It's never been something I've enjoyed. And so I'm looking for something, whether it's art journaling or whether it's like quick questions to answer or a page a day of something or something. I want to find something to help me like center some thoughts in the morning that I will actually use and that's actually going to be enjoyable for me, and then use it for a month. And that should bring me to the end of March. My second mini goal is to focus on getting better sleep. So I want to find a nighttime home for my phone. I need to get an alarm clock. And again, those 2 things need to go together because right now my phone is my alarm clock. And unlike people like Amy Landino who talk about having their alarm go off in the other room, I can't do that because my husband and my kids will wake up if I have an alarm going off in the other room. Whereas if I have an alarm going off in here, it'll probably wake my husband up, but then he'll go back to sleep. And then the third one is no caffeine after 3 p.m., which I'm generally okay with. Not as good as I wish I was. And then my third mini goal is to find my optimal wake up time. And this is actually going to tie in with the time tracking I was doing for the previous goal. So you see how they're all kind of working together as opposed to feeling like just all of these different things to do? I want to find a sleep tracking device or app that I can use on a regular basis, and then sleep track using that app for the whole month of January. Once I've found a time that I feel like is going to be a good time for me to wake up consistently at that time over the course of 2 weeks. And so I have that like victory. My fifth goal is to prioritize quality time both as a family and as a couple. And again, if you go back to the boundaries and the time off, right there, the 3-day weekends can tie into this goal as well. So my first mini goal is to go on a day trip with the kids in January. So I want to pick a day, pick a place, and take a trip as my action steps. And it's probably all going to happen in the first week because the kids will have them for a couple of days. I'm thinking we might actually have already figured out that we may just go to Japantown for our day trip, which will be totally fine by me. The second mini goal is Happy Birthday Cindy Saturday. My birthday is at the end of January. There's an a cappella event here in the Napa Valley that is a big fundraiser for my kids' high school a cappella group, but they're also pulling a cappella groups from all over, including a professional one. I love a cappella. It's the day after my birthday. So I want to buy the tickets to that a cappella thing to take for my husband, myself, and the kids to go see the a cappella thing, to pick a dinner time and make reservations at our favorite sushi restaurant, which is also up Valley, so that we can go do that the same day, and then have a happy day. That's one of my action steps. That's going to be probably the easiest one to do out of everything on here because it's so, I already know what I want to do. We just have to do it. And then the third mini goal is to plan our time for the year, our quality time for the year, as best as we can. So we need to pick the dates for our summer trips because it's our year to kind of set the schedule for that with the custody. And then I need to work out the whole rest of the year's custody with my ex-husband, and that needs to happen like ASAP. And then the picking 3-day weekends, which is kind of a crossover goal with the boundaries. That's something that needs to be done. Checking that 3-day weekends one off will give me credit for 2 different goals. And that's a tip for you. Give yourself credit where credit is due. Tend to the body and spirit I have right now as kindly as I can. This goal is very similar to the one I had regarding my health last year, like in 2019. And so a lot of these mini goals are things that either got put off or outgrowths of the goal I was already working on that I feel like I made progress on, but there's always more progress to be made. The first mini goal is to publish the living donor info for people who would like to be tested to be living donors. We need to create an email that's going to go to Jesse because he's going to be the one sending out information to them. So we need to create the email for that and the Google form for that, and then post it and talk about it on all the things. And I want to get all of that accomplished by the mid-February. The second mini goal is to walk 2+ miles 3 to 5 times per week. Even when I take walks, they're generally pretty short. So I want to walk 5 times weekly, and I want to have that be a regular thing by the end of January. By the end of January, I also want to have increased my route to 2+ miles, and I already know what the route's going to be. And then I need to find, as soon as possible, a step tracker because I think one of my next goals in Q2 is going to be about my steps. And so I need to start getting a step tracker. And then my third mini goal is to create a meals database so that we've learned a lot this last year about meals that we like, and we will be having a new meals challenge this next year, and I'll talk more about that in an upcoming video specifically about meal planning. I want to take all these meals that we know we like and we know like kind of they're sort of where they fall in like the, are they a quick meal? Are they a more involved meal? That sort of thing. I want to create a database where it's going to be real easy to pull up meals quickly as opposed to scrolling through Pinterest and forgetting that I have certain things. And so the 3 steps to create that are to compile our favorite recipes, choose a platform, and find 5 new dinners we will like by the end of March. And then, you know, there's other steps like entering things into the database, which I can break down further later. My 7th goal is to step into more local connections, both work and personal, and develop them. And this one is kind of the most all over the place of the goals, and because it kind of goes into various different facets of my life. So the first mini goal is to reconnect with and nourish existing friendships. So I'd like to make a list of friends I'd like to see in person, schedule 2 friend dates for each month for January, February, and March, and schedule some planner lunches with my friends, like those of us who like to lunch. We haven't lunched in a while, so we need to lunch. So if you're in that group, you know who you are. Mini goal number 2 is to join the local art community here in Napa, something I have been avoiding like the plague because I don't want to talk to people. There is a Napa Valley Artists Association, so I want to join that. They do events several times a month, so I'd like to go to a couple of those events by the end of March, and to make a list of upcoming art opportunities that they are publishing that I might be interested in. And then the third mini goal is to attend this other music fundraiser for the band in March. It's at the end of March. It's a like dinner, dancing, auction, and Jesse and I have a goal to fill up at least one table with our friends so that we can go and not just be there with parents we don't know very well, but to go with people we love to hear some awesome jazz band music and support the arts. And so our mini goals for our action steps for that are to invite friends, buy the tickets, and attend. So we've already started that process as well. And then my final goal is to craft a home environment we are proud of. Again, another goal that's sort of repeated from last year, but again, we're homeowners, it never ends. These again are very specific. Because it's a repeated goal, there are things that either have been put off or that I know have been coming. So they're pretty simple. And each of these are actually based around a month. So I have a mini goal for January, a mini goal for February, and a mini goal for March. That's not what I did with all of these goals, but specifically for this one, that's what I did. So my January mini goal is to rearrange RJ's room. He is building a computer as his Christmas present, and we need to figure out the floor plan of his room and where everything's gonna go. His red wall desperately needs to be repainted. I did a really piss poor job of it, and it's patchy looking, and that poor guy, like, I did this a while ago, so I didn't buy enough paint, and I was lazy. So I need to repaint his red wall, and we want to get his room rearranged, get everything like cleaned and purged and perfect for him. Our February goal is to finish the living room lighting. Our living room is basically a dark hobbit hole. So we need to find the stand lamps, like do the shopping for the stand lamps, figure out how we're going to light certain difficult corners of that room and purchase that lighting, and then get everything installed and ready to go by the end of February. And then our third mini goal for the month of March is to clean out our closet, which we've already done, but we need to do it again. We need to design a more permanent system than the one that we have now. We need to purge our clothes and get the new system built and everything put away in it by the end of March. And all three of those are doable stretches with the amount of time we have, but doable. So that's how I've broken down each of these goals. Now I took everything and I kind of put it and highlighted it on this yearly overview page, and that was when I actually went and rearranged, especially the cleaning and purging goals. I rearranged them to fit them into different months because I realized I was asking for too much out of January or asking for too much out of February. And so by putting them here and highlighting them just to kind of get a glance at this, it gives me an idea of how balanced everything is. How much of each goal am I looking at in each month? And then when I go to my tending list, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to break all of them down, and I haven't decided how I'm going to use the monthly calendar yet because I haven't gotten there. So when I do my January tending list setup, which will be an upcoming video next week, you could see then how I sort of have broken all of this down into the further one. But the reason I wanted to do this video specifically was to show you how I'm taking these goals and my initial steps into breaking them down into more achievable things. I don't think I overdid it. I might have overdid it. I always overdo it. But my quarter one goals, a lot of them can be accomplished in an afternoon. Like the living donor info, publishing that shouldn't take very long at all. Creating a morning routine is going to be small amounts of work every day for a whole quarter. Time tracking is a lot of work up front to figure out how I'm going to do it, and then it's just a little bit every single day to keep track of my things. The budgeting stuff is probably going to be the hardest to implement, and that's been the thing we've put off the most over this last year, so that's the one I'm the most scared of. So as you can see, there's different levels of difficulty. I didn't pick a whole bunch of mini goals that were all really hard to dig into. Some of them are just changing a little bit of how I act each day, and some of them are more meaty things to dig into. And I think that that's something you need to keep in mind when you're setting your goals and you're setting out your action steps. Balance needs to be the thing that you keep at the forefront of everything you do. It's damn near impossible to actually balance our lives out. You know, at any given time, I might have more work to do than I have parenting to do. My kids just went back to their dads. So I could very feasibly sit here and work my ass off for the next few hours. And then when Jesse gets home, keep working. But I don't feel good, so I'm probably not going to do that. But having something like a quarterly overview or somewhere, like once you've set all of these action steps, kind of put them in calendar form so you see what you're really asking of yourself, and then make adjustments based on what you think is really feasible, what is possible. Both keep in mind how much you're doing at any given time so that you're not overcommitting yourself, and also looking for the connections between the different things you're doing. For example, my time tracking versus my trying to find a good sleep time. Those two things go together. My scheduling of the 3-day weekends for the next however many months, that goes together under 2 of my goals. You start to see when you're doing this how different aspects of your life fit together like a puzzle, and how you can kind of get 2 for 1. Actions you can take that will move you forward in both arenas of your life. So I want you to focus on that when you're working on your goals, because it helps with the overwhelm. I'm just saying. I hope this was helpful. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below an action step you're planning on taking towards your goals in the month of January, whether it's being part of the Llama Letters book club or whether it is, you know, doing something else. Let me know in the comments below so that we can all hear it. You can say it out, well, internet out loud, and that we can all cheer you on as we move towards our shit during the next months, because yay, new year, new decade, all the things. And all that being said, I think I'm going to take a nap. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video.